I don't... Hey guys, I'm going to show you the books that I use with my recovery patients as well as some other psychology recommendations that I have. This is a little bit of a different video. It's showing you the things that I use and the things that I've read and enjoyed in relation to my degree as well as my work. So we'll get started with the books that I use every day in IOP. I am a substance abuse counselor and I use these 3 books every day to share with my clients. So the first one I use is Demi Lovato's Staying Strong, 365 Days a Year. It's a daily meditations book, so each day is going to have a quote as well as words from Demi as well as a goal. So each day I just share them the date that it is and we kind of talk about it for a few minutes and then we go on to the next thing in my slideshow. I use The Language of Letting Go by Melody Beattie. This is another daily meditations book on codependency. All of my clients are recovering addicts, so they find this very helpful from what I can tell at least. And this one is a little bit different, so it's got the date and then it'll have a topic and then it'll have some words on the topic as well as a today I will statement. Sometimes there's a little story at the beginning or something from another book, but that's what this one does, and they really seem to like both of these books. The final book I use is A Year of Positive Thinking. This is Daily Inspiration, Wisdom, and Courage, and this is by Cindy Spiegel, and this is just a literally just like an affirmation every day. So it is a positive affirmation that they can kind of say to themselves. Like, for example, this one says, know it. If you think you can, you might. If you know you can, you will. Just something that you can say to yourself to kind of get you through the day in a positive way. The last 2 things I do with my group are cards. So I received the Dialectic Behavior Therapy card deck. I received this from New Harbinger, who are the publishers. I also received the workbook, which you'll see later in this video. And this is 52 practices to balance your emotions every day. And it has mindfulness skills, distress tolerance skills, and interpersonal effectiveness skills. And I just share one a day for them to kind of work on the next day until we meet again and give them a new one. So we do a affirmation. This is Affirmators. And this is 50 affirmation cards to help you help yourself without the self-helpiness. They have little characters on them. They have little characters on them. And then they have like a follow your heart or courage or something like that. And then the quote goes with the picture, and they're funny because they have little sayings and stuff, so it's really cute and they seem to like that a lot. Gives you a laugh for the end of group. The next books I'm going to show you are ones that are kind of supplementary. I use them here and there depending on the topic. One of my favorite ones to use is an introductory guide to Narcotics Anonymous. A lot of these I got at McKay's or from the publisher or from work. So this one is literally just a mini introductory guide to Narcotics Anonymous, or NA, and I like it because there is a quiz in it. It's the Am I an Addict quiz, and it's 29 questions to see if you are an addict. One that I use when I do the adolescent groups is an L-Team. This is L-Team, and this is A Day at a Time. So this is the teen version of A Day at a Time. It's also just a daily thing with a date, a little saying, and then things to think about. The next 2 books I received from the publishers, and they are the Addiction Recovery Workbook, and this is based on real life experience by C.W.V. Stratton. And this is just, it says a 7-step master plan to take back control of your life. So this is literally just a workbook to work through your recovery. I sometimes pull questions from this or something like that. And then the back, it has part of the next book, which is really nice. So I'll show you that next. The next one is the 365 Addiction Recovery Journal, Become a New You. And this is by 21 exercises. So again, the publisher sent me this one as well. And every day has a quote and then a question and a space to journal. The next one is Affirmators again, and this is the journal to go with the deck of cards. I don't really use this a lot because it's literally like big moments, little moments for each card. It'll have a big version of the card with the quote and then some space to journal about the card. The last 2 books I have for this section of the video are the Narcotics Anonymous Big Book and the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book. If you've ever been to a 12-step meeting, you'll know what these are about. They are the big books. I don't know how else to explain that, honestly. It's literally just how NA is run, some resources, different stories. I like using it a lot because it goes through each individual step of the 12 steps and breaks them down, and they both do that. Both of these do that, so I really like them. All right, so next I'm going to show you my other supplementary books. This is going to be a long video probably, but I'll try to keep it short. But I like to share stories and quotes from books that I've read and really enjoy, such as Girl Wash Your Face or Girl Stop Apologizing by Rachel Hollis. But I have workbooks to go along with them. So Girl Wash Your Face and a workbook for Girl Stop Apologizing. And these are unofficial, so they're not like by the author or anything. We have different discussion questions that you can answer based on each chapter of the book, which I find really interesting. If I'm doing a special topic on like, if it's all women and I want to do a topic on like moms in recovery and things like that, this is really helpful. Another one that I have not used, but I got recently is called Rewired, and this is by Erica Spielman. And this is a new, bold approach to addiction and recovery. So it's kind of like rewiring your brain. It talks about things like authenticity, honesty, evolution, solitude, time management, self-care, healthy relationships, gratitude, compassion, love, affirmations, and intentions. This next one is the workbook I was telling you about that goes with the DBT deck, or the Dialectic Behavior Therapy cards. So this is the Dialectic Behavior Therapy workbook, and this goes along with the cards. So you can take a card and you can do like exercises that go along with it. And I also received this from the publisher, New Harbinger, and I thank them so much. So I really, really like this work. The next one was also sent to me by the publisher, New Harbinger, and that is the Addiction Skills Recovery Workbook. I've used this several times back when we were in person and I was working with adolescents. This is a 7-step program to help you overcome drug and alcohol addiction. So it just goes through 7 steps, and each chapter is a different step, I believe, and it's like understanding your behaviors, your motivations. It's super helpful, and the kids really liked the worksheets, which was surprising because it's hard to get them to like worksheets. Another thing I have is kind of different. It is an emotional intelligence test. So they're going to ask questions like, is your relationship in danger of flooding? Are you independent? Are you happy with your job? Like things like that. This is the last workbook I have. I use this mostly with adolescents. This is the School Counseling and School Social Work Homework Planner. So this just gives me worksheets for the kids on all different kinds of topics. Okay, so the next section of books I'm going to show you is the books that I use to kind of broaden my education. So one that was recommended to me by a fellow counselor in my work office is Groups, Process, and Practice. 6th edition is the one I have. I don't know what edition she has, but this is actually the instructor's guide, and I found this at McKay's for like $2. And it just talks about different kinds of groups, different interventions, the process and practice, obviously, of groups. So I'm really excited to dive into this and get to learn more because I do work with intensive outpatient program groups. So I'm very excited to learn more. Another one that my coworker recommended was The Gift of Therapy, and I'm very excited. It says an open letter to new generation of therapists and their patients. So I'm excited to dive into this one day. I'm working to get my license to be an LPC MHSP. Which means I can take insurance as a licensed professional counselor. So I had to pass several tests to do this. So one I had to pass was the NCE, the National Counseling Examination. And for that, I studied the Encyclopedia of Counseling. This is by Howard Rosenthal. If you're studying for the NCE, please buy this. It is so helpful. I know it's like $70, but I swear to you, it is worth a passing grade. At least for me it was. It's written really cool, so like it'll have each section, but each section is broken down, and ignore my highlighting. Each section is broken down by questions, and then the answers, and then the explanation of the correct answer and the wrong answers. So I found that to be a really cool way to study. So I really liked that. Another book that I have to read to take that test, second test, would be the Simplified NCMHCE. I don't have to read it, but this is the study guide for it that I found, the most recent one. And it just breaks down the different sections, gives you case examples and all of that, and you can kind of answer it the way you would in the test. So I'm already dived into this. I'm a few pages in, I'm probably about 20 or 30 pages into it, but I'm not going in order. I'm kind of just mixing it up, but this is super helpful to study for that. I do like the way it's written. And then of course, as a counselor, I do have to have the DSM-5, which I also bought these tabs for, which are so helpful. But this is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So this is going to show you all the psychological disorders, their diagnostic material, meaning how you determine if somebody has this. And then there's also a pocket guide that I have, which is super helpful because it actually gives you interview questions for each individual disorder. The last 4 books I'm going to show you for this section of the video are books that I have bought in relation to psychology. So one that I absolutely love how it's written and the flow of it is The Story of Psychology, and this is by Morton Hunt, and this is literally psychology from beginning to end. Another one I have is Authentic Happiness, and this is by Martin E.P. Seligman. Why do they all have that last name? Anyway, so this is all about authentic happiness, which if you know anything about psychology, you should know what this is because it's positive psychology, and I find it super fascinating. So I have the book about this. I do highly recommend. It's a great read, and I think there's even a website that's attached to the book that you can go and take quizzes to see if you're authentically happy and different things like that. Last two are just like 30-second psychologies and 101 and all that. But I have Psych 101, and this is cool because it's the way it's broken down is just really interesting. It's got charts and graphs and images. And last but not least for this section is 30-second psychology. So it starts with like old school psychology and goes to current psychology. So it's super fun and fascinating. Okay, so this last section of books are the reason that I am even doing this video. My group and I talked about the movie Beautiful Boy, and I was like, it's a book, and they're like, really? So we started talking about books that related to recovery, and this is where this started. The first four that I have are Beautiful Boy, Tweak, We All Fall Down, and High. So High is everything you want to know about drugs, alcohol, and addiction. And this is by David and Nick Sheff. They are father and son, and Nick actually went through a meth addiction. We All Fall Down is a sequel to his first book, which is Tweak. And these are both about Nick's addiction and his journey and his recovery. The next book I have is Beautiful Boy, and this is by the father, David Sheff. And this is the father's story of his son's recovery from the father's point of view as a parent of a recovering addict. Glass Castle, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't read this one yet, but I'm interested in reading it, and this is by Jeanette Walls. The book is basically about resilience and how to overcome, addicted parents. And like I said, I read a few of these. Two that I did read are A Child Called It and The Lost Boy, which are book 1 and book 2 of Dave Pelzer's story. Book 1 is about his abuse from his mother, and book 2, The Lost Child, is about his journey through the foster care system. So I don't have his other books, but he has one called I don't remember what his one for his teen years is called. Something about youth. And then he has A Man Named Dave, which is about his obviously adult life. And I think that's it, but I'm not 100% sure. But I love these two, and I plan on reading the others and getting them soon. Another one that I use for group, but is also very helpful, for anybody in a relationship, is The 5 Languages of Love. This is by Gary Chapman, and it has a quiz in the back to find out your love language, which is basically what you need to feel loved. And it's good to take it with your partner. And then I have 3 more that I have not read, but I hope to, and they sound interesting. This is Juliet the Manic, and this is about a woman who is manic depressive, and it sounds super interesting. And this is by Juliet Escoria, I think is how you say it. So I'm hoping to read that one soon. Then there's A Million Little Pieces by James Frey. This is about an alcoholic. You Are Not Alone. This is Words of Experience and Hope Through the Journey of Depression by Julia Thorne, and it's just helping you through depression. And I need to read it. I haven't read it yet, but it sounds really interesting and helpful. The last 2 are my favorite. One I've read, one I haven't. The one I haven't read is Don't Call Me Crazy. This is 33 voices that start the conversation about mental health. So this is different stories about mental health and how people who have that stigma attached to their mental health disorder and how they cope with it. There's different authors. There's different, like Libba Bray. There's Kristen Bell does a story in here. So it's super interesting, and you can see if it can freaking focus, you can see all the people who did the stories. So last book is probably my favorite. I lied, there's one more. So the last 2 books that I've read are my favorites. This is Purpose for the Pain, which is a girl's story through addiction and recovery, but it's her actual written journals, which is super interesting. And it's hard to read because it's her handwriting, but I've read this and it's truly beautiful and inspiring. So I do recommend this one. But the other book I recommend is If You Feel Too Much, and that's by Jamie T, because his last name is a million letters long and I don't know how to pronounce it. The founder of To Write Love on Her Arm, which is an organization that brings light to suicide awareness. And the book is his story, and it's super interesting. So I highly recommend that one. I will try to put an image of it over here. And it's really good. I've read it several times. I love the audiobook. So if you're interested in that, it's great. So check that out. So that's all I have for you guys. If you're interested in psychology or have a recovering addict in your household, or you are a recovering addict or have a mental health disorder or a family member that does, it is super helpful to read these books. I highly recommend them. If you're a counselor, the books in the beginning are super helpful as well. So comment below if you have any questions or any more recommendations. And also, if you like this video, make sure to give it a like. And if you want to subscribe, I'd love to see you here next time. So that's it for today. Bye guys.